Caitlyn Clark officially done for the 2025 WNBA season, as she and the Fever announced on social media. The Fever and Clark saying that she tried to get back on the floor. It appears that she just ran out of time, not able to get enough confidence back in her body as the season wraps up and the playoffs are likely about to begin for Indiana.
Kelsey Plum didn't simply depart Las Vegas after packing her things. On her way out, she set fire to the entire Aces enterprise. She made the shocking statement, "I'm finally being treated better than I ever have in the WNBA," during her Sparks press conference and in a recent interview with WNBA legend Sue Bird.
Take a moment to process that.
Los Angeles wasn't the only recipient of that gratitude. The so-called super team she had just fled from was the direct target of the dagger. As if that weren't enough, Plum intensified her argument with Subbird. She stated it clearly. She desired more. She needed greater trust and accountability, and she wasn't receiving either in Vegas. Translation: A'ja Wilson took front stage. Plum had had enough of being second fiddle.
Caitlyn Clark, out for the remainder of the 2025 season.
For not just the Fever and the WNBA.
There was frustration associated with each halt along that time frame. Her injuries were often described by the team as everyday language that gave viewers hope. That expression implied a speedy recovery and permitted optimism and ticket sales to continue. However, the truth was more nuanced. After recovering from the quad strain, she was obviously constrained. Her efficiency decreased, her minutes were controlled, and she appeared to be a player looking for rhythm while never being completely healthy. People took notice. Public reporting as well, even though coach Stephanie White informed reporters that the Fever were using their West Coast tour as an opportunity to assess her improvement, fan reactions began to raise concerns about whether her returns were hurried. White added that Clark hadn't been doing a lot of contact work, which suggested that she wasn't quite well yet.
Well, because Caitlyn Clark fans, I want to say Fever fans, but at this point, so many of you, including myself, has lost faith in everybody involved in leadership and in management and coaching. We've just sort of, I got to tell you, I don't have any more real good things to say about the Fever organization as of now, because I will contend that they have known this was going to happen, and they did not want to tell anybody.
The issue of overcompensation surfaced at that point. The body moves the load elsewhere when one place isn't healed, which creates the conditions for another breakdown. It's similar to patching a leaky pipe without addressing the underlying pressure. The system eventually breaks down once more. Clark's groin injury was a textbook example of such progression. The cycle continued as the quad stress was transferred to the surrounding muscles. The messaging, meanwhile, continued to be strangely positive. Fans saw glances. Clark is taking some warm-up shots, running lightly during practice, even giggling with teammates, which confirmed that she was almost ready to go back. According to team claims echoed by local media, she will soon be able to play again. However, specialists are aware that rapid recoveries rarely last and that quad and groin ailments persist. The more dismal reality conflicted with the apparent hope, resulting in a vicious cycle where each claimed recovery simply made the disappointment worse when another setback occurred.
Clark, a two-time All-Star and the 2024 WNBA Rookie of the Year, has been sidelined suffering a right groin injury during the Fever's 87-77 win over the Connecticut Sun on July 15th. If you guys remember that game, Caitlyn Clark put the team on her back in the winding minutes to give the Indiana Fever that lead. Clark also suffered a bone bruise at a later date during her recovery process.
It was July 15th when everything fell apart. Clark's season ended when she suffered another groin injury in the last minute of a game, this time to her right side. The sight got increasingly clearer from there. Her body has never had a chance to completely reset after months of rehabilitation and partial comebacks. Her subsequent ankle bruise during her rehabilitation process served as a reminder of how precarious things had gotten and seemed like an insult to her already existing injuries. At last, fans stopped trusting the meticulous updates and realized that she had been persevering through a season that had been compromised the entire time.
Return to the court, but ultimately, time is not on our side, said Indiana Fever COO and GM Amber Cox. While we will continue working with Caitlyn and provide her with every resource we have available, there is not enough time left in our season for her to safely return, and her long-term health and well-being remains our top priority. We are looking forward to having her back at full strength to start the 2026 season. Clark appeared in 13 games during the regular season, averaging 16.5 points, 8.8 assists, and 5 rebounds per game, while helping lead the team to the 2025 WNBA Commissioner's Cup title.
Her own words stripped away any remaining illusions. She admitted she spent
Whatever illusions remained were dispelled by her own words. When asked how she felt about the result, she replied, "Disappointed isn't a big enough word." She acknowledged that she worked out every day in the gym in hopes of making a comeback. No team news release was as powerful as that unvarnished honesty. While the public narrative suggested that Clark was about to be okay, she had put in every ounce of effort to save her season. The truth was straightforward in the end. She was sidelined by a series of injuries that accumulated, depriving the team of the one player who had instantly transformed the league's relevance.
Caitlyn wrote, "I had hoped to share a better update, but I will not be returning to play this season. I spent hours in the gym every day with the singular goal of getting back out there. Disappointed isn't a big enough word to describe how I am feeling. I want to thank everyone who had my back through all the uncertainty. This has been incredibly frustrating, but even in the bad, there is good. The way fans continue to show up for me in the Fever brought me so much joy and important perspective. I'm so proud of how this team has only gotten stronger through the adversity this year. Now it's time to close out the season and claim our spot in the playoffs."
There's more to this than that. Many were forced to observe Clark's physical toll from each game as her ailments mounted. She was marketed by the league as the new face of women's basketball. But under continual strain, her body failed. Supporters started posing more challenging queries. Why did it appear that no one was shielding her on the floor if she was already facing so many setbacks? At that point, her annoyance turned from the injuries to the way she was handled on the court and the referee's lack of assistance. That annoyance overflowed into something more significant: the controversy surrounding Caitlyn Clark's officiating and the league's decision to treat its best player. This is the tale of the WNBA's Golden Goose Gamble, referees being scrutinized, and bullying on the floor.
Well, it all started last year.
It wasn't just random conjecture. Receipts and videos showed Clark being shoved, struck, and generally harassed every time she took the court. Such plays stoked the indignation. Fans paused their feeds and played back those scenes in slow motion, highlighting physical play that seemed to go much beyond allowing them to play, as well as slaps across the arm and shoulders pressed into her chest. For analysts, highlight programs, and even casual viewers, the topic shifted from basketball to whether Clark was receiving different treatment from officials.
On her than anybody in the league, besides Caitlyn Clark and Aaliyah Boston. She's been taking hits as well. But the worst thing is the consistency. So they don't call flagrant fouls, or most of the time, Caitlyn Clark could be held for an entire game at a time. They don't call fouls. They don't call common fouls. They play against Breanna Stewart. She goes to the line 14 times. Asia Wilson goes to the line 13 times. And Aaliyah Boston can't play.
But justice wasn't the only consideration here. There were actual repercussions. Unrestrained physical play put additional strain on a body already coping with groin and quad issues. The accumulation, along with the injuries she sustained during live action and the subsequent relapse of an ankle injury during rehabilitation, increased the likelihood of a season-ending collapse. Although there is no evidence of a purposeful cover-up, there is no denying the pattern of evasive communication and outspoken public indignation. Perception is important. You can see how the contradictory plot lines generated suspicion if you stand back. On the one hand, there is the dazzling marketing that portrays Clark as a generational star. On the other, there is the court's obvious sentence. And on the other, there are hazy injury timeframes. Fans made the connection and came to the conclusion that referees swallowed whistles and officials minimized severity in order to maintain the league's short-term success. The credibility hit is real regardless of whether intent can be demonstrated. And at the moment, the WNBA's legitimacy is crucial. The presence of, for the first time in years, Clark Meehan's buzz, TV ratings, and ticket sales were comparable to those of men. The league couldn't afford to lose her not only to injury but also in the midst of a public outcry. The spotlight on broadcasts is now waning, playoff races seem flatter, and the Fever's aspirations of winning the championship vanished as quickly as the news was released. With Clark incapacitated and the Golden Goose gamble backfiring, the question remains unanswered. What became of the group that was formed around her? The focus now immediately turns to the Indiana Fever and their ability to continue playing without the guy who made them a national attraction overnight. The pressure is at an all-time high right now. With 3 games remaining, the Fever, who have 21 wins and 20 defeats, are battling for the 8th and last playoff berth. Since the Los Angeles Sparks are only 1.5 games behind, every possession in the final stretch could determine whether Indiana plays from home or extends their season. The difficulty has changed from publicity and headlines to just surviving without Caitlyn Clark.
We're still likely to make it into the playoffs, and that's the word on everybody's mind, getting the news that CC's season is indeed done.
The roster now has to rely on its surviving leaders as a result of this urgency. With her scoring, Kelsey Mitchell has emerged as the offensive mainstay and is keeping Indiana afloat. When all else fails, she is the seasoned player who knows how to create points or stabilize a half-court set. The 2-time All-Star Aaliyah Boston has done the same indoors. She is the pillar of the team, grabbing rebounds, playing defense, and requesting double teams to open doors for others. Additionally, role actors have entered more significant situations, BY playing perimeter defense and establishing a physical tone that provides Indiana an advantage. Lexi Hall has established herself. When games degenerate into chaos, Sophie Cunningham's shooting and toughness on the wing offer stability. Coach Stephanie White has referred to these players as stabilizers, even though they might not light up box scores every night. Just what a playoff contending club needs when Clark isn't there.
Unfortunate.
Things together, the Fever have also relied on tactical roster movements. In particular, when exhaustion or foul issues stretch the rotation thin, veteran acquisitions and hardship contracts, such as bringing in seasoned players like Odyssey Sims, Chloe BBY, Ari McDonald, and Shaw Petty, have helped fill in the voids. When depth became a problem, White needed the flexibility to keep her club competitive, not star power, which is why she made those acquisitions. Although it's not glamorous, it's a component of what has enabled Indiana to maintain its lead while the Sparks close near. White herself has had to provide strong guidance for all of it. She has had to change lineups, modify roles, and maintain her players' confidence that they can do more than simply get by without Clark. Her focus on group accountability has kept the season from falling apart. She has emphasized the components that, when combined, still give the team a chance to contend for a spot in the postseason rather than relying solely on one player. It is not the goal of the story to duplicate what Clark provided. It's about coming up with fresh strategies to compete. Boston's strength and Mitchell's scoring. In games where they may have lost, Indiana has remained obstinate due to Cunningham's tenacity, Hull's defense, and their interior. The Fever continue to position themselves to choose their season on their own terms when you include the reinforcements from hardship contracts.
This is on your head, Kathy Engelbert, and the rest of the WNBA Players Association executive leadership who failed to hold officials and players accountable for the barbaric style of play the Fever and Caitlyn Clark have had to endure this year. Kathy, resign.
It won't be because opponents underestimated them or because the schedule fell their way if Indiana makes it to the playoffs. It will be because the club established a foundation in the midst of chaos, role players refused to vanish, and veterans stepped forward. It's worth watching the payout. Evidence that the Fever have the resiliency to be discussed in the postseason even without their star. However, this season is about more than just Indiana's flexibility. It concerns the broader implications of Clark's injury. After the Fever persevered through their last stretch, The league as a whole is left facing the more significant query of what went wrong and what this incident reveals about the WNBA's treatment of its most talented player. This season seems to many fans like proof that there was a breakdown in the league's and the team's communication on player health. Although the Fever's front staff acknowledges the genuine frustration, Clark's long-term welfare has always come first. According to Amber Cox, general manager of the Fever, the team anticipates having Clark fully recovered by 2026, a strong indication that the way forward would be determined by recovery rather than immediate benefits. Meanwhile, athletes like Sims, Boston, Hull, and Mitchell continue to carrying the battle, demonstrating that Indiana is still very much alive. It is now your turn. Leave a kind note for Caitlyn Clark in the comment section and let us know if the Fever can still qualify for the playoffs without her. Turn on all notifications, like, and subscribe to ensure you don't miss anything. We'll see you in the next video. Click the video on the screen.